Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is Magpie. And wow, we just had a wonderful season finale, or at least I thought it was wonderful. But here to share all the impressions that we just had is basically the gang. I have here TJ from Basedimouto, I have JC Ferggy, I have Jonathan Kayne, and I have Trash from Trash-Tier Waifu. And we are all here just to share what we thought about this latest and the last episode in season 3, the finale. So hey you guys, how are you?
Well, not too bad.
Doing quite well.
I'm speechless.
I'm doing pretty good.
Confess, everybody, how many of you cried?
Oh, I got footage of me crying already online.
I definitely teared up.
I did tear up a little bit.
I definitely cried a little bit. Not as much as in the light novels. I've cried every time I read the light novels, but still cried.
It was definitely emotional and definitely had my little handkerchief action going on there. And even when I rewatched it, I'm crying again. So yeah, so there's a lot to cover. And yet, I don't know about you guys, but was it just me or did you feel like the episode just went by way too quickly?
Yeah.
Definitely.
I thought it was paced well. It's just like sort of like moments where it's, you know, I kind of wanted to see some people go that didn't, you know, go.
Oh,
but,
I agree to that. Yes, people needed to die in this episode, like on-screen death.
Painfully.
Severe lack of death in this episode, or ending of last episode, whichever one you want to put it.
Yeah.
As someone would say, I don't think enough people burned in this episode.
We wanted gore, right? We wanted blood. We wanted that payoff. I definitely did want to get to that payoff. So, but yeah, like you said, I thought it was well paced. I think Trash, you were gonna say something about the editing.
Yeah, especially towards the end. It felt a little jumpy almost. I don't know if anybody else caught that, but just how it moved through the scene, it was like, okay, Mine's here with her family, and then suddenly she's over here doing this, and it's just like, I don't know if they were just trying to like bridge too much, or they didn't want to show her like walking or anything, but
yeah, I would have at least like appreciated like a 1-2 frame, like, oh, here's like she got escorted back to her like room and Rosina helped her change into her new thing, like, you know, just like a transition shot between the action and the next scene would have been appreciated.
The season has done that a lot though.
Yeah, there are some episodes that I feel like they have a much nicer flow, but some episodes are just like, okay, we have to cram this in. So personally, I think they would have really benefited from skipping the opening of this episode or the ending or both. Like, seriously, that was a call that somebody should have made.
Have we ever had that yet with this series?
We did have it with the series at the end of season 2, if you remember, after she tells her family that she loves them, and then it goes into the ending song. The ending song is playing, and she and LUTZ are walking toward the temple, and we get all the little
right
little shots of everybody living their life. And this one, they just kind of like played with our feelings, like that final, the end of the story. What was that? I was like, no.
I just watched the episode like 20 minutes ago. I was like, you know what? This is good. This is fine. It's okay that it's over. And then, you know, the whole ending plays through, and then it's like, okay, here's the after scene. You know, it has the setup. I guess they're going to the baptism or whatever. I'm not sure what was going on. But then it's like, all right, well, this story is done, but this story is continuing. And I was just like, huh. So then I went back on Twitter to look up Mitsuguru Hongo, the director. I looked up his Twitter because, you know, he tweeted, you know, I'm done with this. Mm-hmm. We're done. Mm-hmm. And then I went back to look for the tweet. It's gone.
What? You're kidding.
Yes, he deleted the tweet.
I retweeted that tweet and I had to see it. So, okay, that's something to consider. What did you think about that little psych moment, Jonathan?
First, I was like, that kind of makes sense. I was a little disappointed. And it was like, but, and I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting to be kind of like trolled by the anime. So yeah,
trolled is a good word.
I was just like, yo, so you're gonna hold a little bit of happiness at me and the possibility of a season 4, which we'll all just have to keep our fingers crossed for.
Trash?
Yeah, I think everybody's pretty much said what I had to say on it. It's just like, okay, this story's done, but this one's continuing, and then at the end it flashes just a normal to be continued, and I'm confused, like, okay, are we getting a season 4, or are we to be continued for the episodes that are coming right after that are just actor commentary, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I heard about there's a 2-episode commentary after that. I don't know if any of you guys are covering it or talking about it.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Okay, so what was your reaction, or what did you think about Sylvester's reveal and everybody's reaction to it?
Like, you know, having read it all, you know what the big reveal is. Like, I'd have to, you know, talk to someone who's, you know, watching it for the first time and see if they got it, because Sylvester and Ferdinand don't look anything alike.
What did you think of how the anime portrayed their expressions, rather than what did you feel?
Nani?
8 out of 10, But I don't know, everyone else's expressions just kind of came off as like a little flat. I don't know, like, I guess the Toad was the only one that got the reaction because he was like the point of focus at that point, but everyone else just seemed off to the side, like secondary, just background, unfortunately. I don't know if that was just like time or budgetary, but like...
Or maybe it was overshadowed by that epic...
The only thing that I wish that something that happened in the novels was that she kind of like bowed like a little bit too hard, and I wish that they had added that. But that's the only thing I can add to that. I thought it was pretty funny, and Mind's reaction was funny, but that's the only thing I would add.
Yeah, she doesn't fall into her Japanese isms as much lately.
True. LUTZ tells Benno that Mind stamped the black charm. Could you guys help me remember? Did he know about the significance of that charm by then?
Oh, I think he definitely did.
He did? Okay. Yeah, because one of my favorite parts was how he reacts. He just runs out the room. I was like, oh.
As I believe it was like in the episode, time frame in that episode where he gave her the black protective charm is when he met up with Benno in the basement workshop, and he like took him aside and was kind of probably told him, it's like, hey, I'm incognito, don't, you know, ruin this thing. This is what I have planned in case of emergency, so if like shit goes down, you know what plans need to be done going forward. So he wasn't completely in the dark.
That makes sense, because we do get a conversation that happens off screen and we don't know what he told him. Again, part of the thing that later Sylvester said that was that he had planned to probably, you know, crush the Gilberta company because, you know, Mind is so heavily involved with them, but he decided against it. So I think there was a little bit of threatening there, you know, like using his lord's authority to get Benno's cooperation there for sure. Now, let's go back to the temple where we get the reveal how Ferdinand and Sylvester are related. Okay, so here's a question for you guys. When you were reading the light novel, did you guess this or did it catch you by surprise?
I would say that particular point probably caught me a bit off guard when reading the light novels. I don't think there's that much of like, you know, they're close, you know that they're at least good friends, but brothers? No. It depends, but when it comes out, you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because they definitely don't even look alike. They don't act alike. I thought it was really sweet how Sylvester called him his little brother.
Like reading the light novel at the time, like a lot of details like hair color, eye color, stuff like that might signify familiar relations, I don't really like keep in my head a lot of the times. Thankfully, like a lot of the light novel illustrations and the anime now have kind of like cemented it. It's like after reading it 3 times, I can finally know whose hair color it is. But like the first time going through it, none of those details were in my head. And even like circling back to the fact where Ferdinand was like subservient till Sylvester in the spring raid, where he's like, no, this is the plan we're going to do. And he immediately agreed to it. None of those things kind of came to mind after, like, or I didn't think too much into him at the time. I see a few people online reacting to it and are able to like really kind of pinpoint down like the anime onlys. They're like, hey, what is he doing? He's like doing all this noble stuff, and I'm quite shocked at how accurate they are. Like, I'd hope they're not just like light novel trolls who already know what's going on, like seeding speculation in that sense. But like, if they honestly are, they are some really good sleuths in the community, but I'm not one of them.
So for me, I felt like they had like sort of like a familiarity, like just so like the way that Sylvester's presented when he first shows up, he's like really out of place, like the fact that you've never seen him before. So it was kind of like a red herring. There's no mention of him, and he sort of steals every scene that he's in. So like he could never just be like a background blue priest that we've never seen, we've never heard of. You know, the High Bishop has never said anything about him. Ferdinand has never said anything about him. You know.
For sure. That's a really big indicator.
So I'll be honest, the first time I read that, I didn't even know that Sylvester was going to be the Ob, let alone Ferdinand's brother. Because at the time, I was just starting to get into Ascendance of a Bookworm. I had read Part 2, Volume 1 and 2, and then Volume 3 and 4 I read when they came out, and I didn't get really serious into nitpicking every little detail until like middle of Part 3, Volume 1. So I actually didn't catch any of that so it caught me completely off guard.
Wow. You know, I envy you guys. You know what happened to me? As soon as season 2 ended, I was like, I need to know more. I need to know more. I went to the wiki, went past all of the spoiler alerts, like do not go through here because there's all these spoilers. And I was like, okay, let's see who this Ferdinand guy is, because he's giving me like some strange, like, I want to know, is he good? Is he bad? I need to know. And I read his whole thing. I was like, oh my gosh, why did I do this? Like, I didn't read like web novel stuff, just the light novel stuff, but that was enough to like, I was like, can I like erase my memory? Can I go back in time, because I just spoiled myself terribly. So by the time I did pick up the light novel, which was like Part 2 Volume 3, so Spring Prayer, I delved right headfirst into it, and I already knew to pick up the signals. I was like, oh, I see. So but yeah, we all came to our own revelations, and that was my revelation, I guess. Please, people, do not do this. Do not spoil yourself. Read the light novel as God intends. Understand? Please. Take it from me.
I actually got two things I want to say based off of that. One is that, like you said, going to the light novel, I was like almost not necessarily embarrassed, but like it was like such a monumental amount of stuff at first, and it was just like, oh, okay, there is too much stuff, and I realize I'm going to spoil myself, so I need to just read it right now and get it out of the way before I start looking into things, because I have questions and I know they'll come to me if I just start reading the source material. But the second thing is based on the reveal of Sylvester, now that we know who he is, going back and rereading certain scenarios from earlier in Part 2 really recontextualizes those encounters, like just the one with Benno, as we mentioned earlier, but a few other things too. And that's kind of like a trend going forward for the series. Like at the end of each part, you're given so much more information that looking back at like the content that came before, it redefines like everything each time. I don't know, I can't think of like many series that do that, like at the end of each chapter, like, you know, huge sequence, that everything before it kind of gets reframed in a sense. It's
kind of like connecting the dots, but only when you look back, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Jonathan, I think you were going to say something?
I was going to say, so that's how Paula's love for Ferdinand began.
I have a weakness for evil villain types who just happen to be hot. It's an open secret. I think everybody could catch it, and it's better if they tend to not be evil. So I honestly thought that Ferdinand was shady. Okay,
sort of
I don't know.
Lord.
You just don't give a girl a drink that makes her knock out. You know, that's just red flags all over. My instinct just was like, I don't know. That's just not something you do. So
I tried to put this on for my grandmother because she'll watch anime from time to time, and she was like, "He's giving a child wine," and I was like, "All right, this one's not gonna fly."
oh, but she has to power through. I powered through. She'll love it.
Do
It's
what
so
I
wholesome.
did. Skip the prologue. I started my mother just like right at the beginning where it starts with her backstory, skipping the entire like intoxication sequence. And it was so much better for it because when magic started coming into the series, she was just like, wait, what's this? This is like a Harry Potter thing? And I'm just like, oh God.
Surprise! That's a good tip.
And here I am trying to get my parents to like watch anime at all.
I've only been able to manage 2, Bookworm and Spy Fam, so.
I think we went a little bit off course. I put a note here. Binderwald running and getting caught in bands of light. Hilarious.
Yeah, that was pathetic.
I just thought it was funny seeing him try to run away. Like, where do you think you're going?
Arnsbach is a long, long way away.
Dude, you can't run away.
And they added knights into this scene too, so you see the knights like lined up in the background. It's like, you're definitely not getting away.
We already talked about family relationships. We want to talk about the arrest and some of the things that the anime missed. Because I think I saw TJ, that tweet, that screenshot. Do you want to talk about it?
Oh, where, you know, Jenny is just alive.
Oh yeah, that.
And not dead. She didn't get eviscerated.
I'm pretty sure in the light novels, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 2 attendants that didn't get behind Mind Shield were literally vaporized. Like, I don't think there's anything left of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm pretty sure that happened, right?
Yep.
Yeah, there was only 1 out of the 3 that made it through. But in this scenario, there was only Jenny.
And that one's gone afterwards. But and on top of that, looking at Gunther's arm from the attack that he took, it's just like a little scratch as opposed to like his arm being singed.
Mm-hmm.
So I really feel like they've downplayed what mana can do in this world.
I'm looking at a screenshot right now of Gunther's wound. Like, even if they just made the skin underneath it red, that wouldn't like imply a heavier like wound than he got. It just seemed like, I don't know, he got slashed with a small knife or something.
Yeah, and honestly, when you just put a little tiny cut, it makes Gunther seem much more wimpier than he actually is. Because Gunther is the kind of guy who would fight and fight and fight until he literally collapses. He would be that kind of guy. So it just doesn't seem right that he just has a tiny cut and he looks like he's about to, I can't fight anymore.
Right, he's the type of guy to, you know, take a mana bolt for his daughter.
Yeah. And the way it looked like he was just crouching behind mine during that full-on attack, I was like, that's not something Gunther would do. He was literally like debilitated, incapacitated. His arm was basically burnt flesh. Which means, how would Binderwald's losing to Ferdinand's mana, how would that have changed him too?
Oh, he's covered in a bunch of burns too, so yeah. And they didn't show that at all. I mean, clearly, because he gets up and tries to run away afterwards.
I also feel like they really nerfed, or like maybe Ferdinand might have been holding back, because we know that he's like way stronger than like your typical arch noble.
Yeah, and speaking of injured, Daniel was like unconscious, I think, in the light novel, where here he was conscious enough to kneel before Bob Ehrenfest before mysteriously being carted off somewhere.
Yeah. It would have been nicer for a dramatic effect and just for its storytelling effect. Because later on we see Daniel, he's lying in bed in his PJs. I'm like, you know, you still had a bit of life in you. You could have just stuck around, you know. But no, you're at home sleeping. That's fine, I guess.
Like that scene where he's just in bed and then you see Frida with like no context. That's like, it's so weird. It's so.
I feel like that was an Easter egg.
That is such a scene for light novel readers.
It's so weird because like you don't know that Damel's brother is the one who Frida gets in the contract with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In the show, so she just like appears, but I mean, it made me really happy that scene was there, though.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me hopeful that there's OVAs that cover that content.
For sure. So we get that arrest, and now it's time for our long-awaited Arno Hate segment.
I wanted him to die.
That friggin' smile.
I wanted him to die on camera. I wanted him to climb the towering stairs.
Oh, his smile was so toxic.
You're so inflexible, Fran. Oh, man.
I mean, you could tell the entire time that they were going hard on this. That the studio was making sure that you know that the people who are aware of this know that he's the bad guy and that something should happen. I really wish that they had shown at least him getting reprimanded by Ferdinand or receiving his sentence.
Well, I mean, there's always the OVAs that we're hoping for, right? I will say, I think the anime's done a really good job at just making you hate Arno, because just rereading the light novels recently, it's so subtle what he's doing, and like once you know, it's like, oh, I see it. But if you're just reading it like chronologically your first time, you're probably not even going to quite pick up on it. Mm-hmm. But they made sure in the anime that no, this is on purpose. He's an asshole, and you want him dead.
So like you just said, I didn't even realize until, mine has her own hidden room, and, Arno is like, blabbing to Ferdinand. It's like, oh, well, Fran this and Fran that. And then, he just takes care of business. I was like, oh. Mm-hmm. Oh, snap.
Right, and then you hear, well, he's climbed the towering staircase, then you don't even find out what that means until, like, 1-2 volumes later, they finally use that euphemism, and it's explained, you're like, oh, shit.
One of you guys said there's always the OVA, but I am 100% sure they are not going to do an Arno OVA and tell us what his backstory is. They really aren't. Should we just tell them what his deal was?
Well, in less refined words, hidden room, no bad touch.
Trying to keep this monetized for you. As somebody said, no bad touch, but it was Fran, no bad touch. Arno very jealous. The shrine maiden that they had been serving, who was doing all that, ends up not getting called back to noble society during the purge, hangs herself, and Arno takes all that frustration because he loved that shrine maiden out on Fran, so he wants to see Fran miserable.
It should be specified that the shrine maiden was the orphanage director at the time and was abusing her privileges. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So, anime only people, if you go back all the way to season 2, you can tell Fran's little reactions to any time that the orphanage director is mentioned, and you can see who suggested giving mine the orphanage director's room for a reason. Who was it? It was Arno. That horrible snake, he was at it since way back then, and we didn't even know. There's a lot of motivations behind all of these characters, and the anime unfortunately can't just delve into that stuff. So please, I implore you, check out the light novels because it'll fill in the gaps so nicely. We don't get to see how it happens in the anime, but Ferdinand takes care of Arno, and takes care is the key word here. By the time mine moves into the noble, her new home, there's no Arno around. So let's go back to this. We get past that little conversation with Arno and with Fran. And then we see mine, and she's wearing her fancy new robes.
I'm pretty sure as soon as Gunther leaves, they immediately go into Ferdinand's room for discussions.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just me being crazy. Okay, so I think then they did this for effect's sake, for making it look pretty when she does her blessing. She has her fancy hair stick, which she did not have, usually that was for festivals and special occasions. And she had her expensive robes. They kind of skipped about the talk about the future. the fake backstory.
Like, I was kind of upset about what was cut because I wanted to hear about Red Mine and Mine 2 and Akira Mine and, like all that stuff.
This is, they ask Mine, what do you want your new name to be? And she comes up with some horrible names for herself.
I like the detail that was cut that when she brings up Red Mine, Karstad asks, like, oh, why red specifically? And he's just like, oh, well, my friend said it's a color of strength and things go faster when they're red. And then he's just like, no, that makes no sense. That would be blue instead, just like your birth month. And then he goes on to talk about some like the details and history of their world and how it's related to the sun god Leidenschaft and stuff. And those tiny details I thought are really interesting, and it's what I enjoy about the world and how it kind of fleshes out and cascades into other details we learn later on. So,
Red is the divine color of Geduld, the goddess of earth. It represents warmth and compassion, which is feminine, but not exactly what you seem to have been going for. The story would go that she was born to Karstad's third wife, Rosemary, and since there was a bit of a strife between the three wives, his two wives, they were pretty mean towards Rosemary. So to protect baby Rosemine, they sent her to the cathedral to protect her, and now he's just bringing her back into a noble society.
Which Mind thinks at the time is just like a complete made-up story, but as they delve into it more, they find out that the entire backstory up to that point is true, and the only falsified information is that Mind is the dead person's daughter. But everything else is true.
And that's where the name Rosemine came from, because they decided to use a common technique with apparently this is a tradition, is taking your parents' names and using that to create something new. So they took the Rose and Rosemary and Mine from her original name and made Rosemine.
Which also played in case anyone ever accidentally referred to her as Mine, it can just be used as a nickname that she used when downtown.
So once that happens, everybody comes in, the family comes in, TUULI comes in, and then they hug.
She comes in with so much optimism that she, like, the fact she doesn't read the room is like a knife to the heart. It's just like, no, come on, stop, please, just please kneel. We have a discussion.
That is so TUULI too, just a bundle of optimism.
Yeah. I know when TUULI went to go pick up Mine, I was like really upset. I think I came across as like being really harsh toward TUULI for, I was like, it was because TUULI went to pick her up that all this happened. So right here, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, TUULI, you're an angel. Please forgive me, because this scene where she started crying and she doesn't want to sign the contract. There is one little line here that the anime skipped. She's like, if I sign this contract, does that mean we will no longer be sisters? But Mine tells her, even if you don't sign the contract, we still won't be sisters.
Because that just sounds so, like, heartless.
But it's also technically true in a metatextual sense when you consider her previous life.
True.
They won't be sisters because if she doesn't sign it, then
she'll be killed.
Yeah, they're gonna be killed. Sylvester's gonna kill the family if she doesn't sign it. It's not really. Again, we're kind of keeping it a little clean here for the anime people and the children watching, but that's the alternative. You sign or you die. There's no choice. So let's get to the moment we've all been working up toward, and that is the farewells.
I thought it was like really nice. Mine and TUULI obviously was like, TUULI's one of my favorites, so it was really nice. Part of the like emotional climax was ruined for me because like I got hyper fixated on like how their mouths were moving, and it wasn't like super well done.
I agree.
It was still really nice. Reading the light novel, we know that, this isn't the last time she'll see most of them. Like, she doesn't really get to see Effa too often. But, she sees TUULI, she sees Gunther. She doesn't see Camille, but, it's not the end. And those moments when she does get to see her family, they really mean a lot.
The only thing I will note is whenever Mine kissed Camille, two things. One, I'm surprised he didn't cry.
Oh, true.
And 2, I cried instead. That was the moment in which I started tearing up.
I honestly thought that the whole farewell sequence was fairly well handled. It was a lot of like straight book dialogue. Everything was pretty much just lifted right from the book. My only issue with it was, again, the editing, how it felt almost like a sightseeing tour of the events as opposed to them playing out naturally. And I get it. They had time constraints. And I think the issue somebody else mentioned with the mouths is they were trying really hard to lip sync them well, and they just were a little off. And I noticed it too.
Oh, I have to look into it. I didn't even notice. I was watching through my tears, so I'm gonna go and watch it. Thanks for pointing it out.
It was really noticeable with mine.
I did notice that I don't know if there's like an animator, like they switch animators, but there's like a certain way that they look. Like mine looks prettier in some episodes than in another one, and in this one she kind of looked a little, her model was a little bit less pretty than usual. So, and I noticed that while she was reading when she went to read the contract, I
was gonna say exactly that. Yeah, she seemed off model, like almost drowsy, like, oh, Mondays sort of attitude towards just like, oh, you're making me read this contract that's dictating my future. But like, not just that, but it was TUULI when she was crying, because like her actor, she's like, but like, when you cry like that, your face moves. It has expressions. Like, even if you just had like the basic lines kind of shaking as like a simple flash animation would, just like the 2-frame alternating kind of whatever, it would give depth to the emotion. But like they cut back to TUULI and it's just like the exact frame holding on it while she's apparently like bawling her eyes out. It's just like, no, come on guys, you can do better than this. And then like Gunther too, it's like his reaction shots in a lot of them, it's like, I think he's supposed to come across as like stoic, sort of like father, I can't cry in front of my daughter sort of thing. But a lot of times it seems more like stone-faced or indifferent to the attitude and scenario that's supposed to be conveyed. Like, the only, like, I started crying when Effa was talking to mine, and mine was just like, oh, normally I would like think, yeah, but no, this is my last time. And like, that I think was also like one of the first times I really cried in the light novel too. So it's like that just really struck a chord with me. I guess just how I grew up, and like I really care for my mother too. So it's just like, oh, I can really relate to that sort of sentiment. And then afterwards, I think I cried 2 more times. But it wasn't until like editing and then going back and watching it one more time before this discussion, just not focusing on the details of animation, I cried so much more because I just like was into it. I wasn't focused on the details, I was just stuck in the moment and like getting caught in the wave of emotion. It's a beautiful scene. So, but I wish it could have been animated slightly better.
That part where the contract burned and you get those scenes of season, like from season 1, like all her family interactions, I lost it there. I was seriously having a moment there. In my opinion, it was so well done, like to elicit such an emotional response. I love that part.
Can I mention something though about the sort of like montage burning in the flame scene sort of thing? I didn't think it would like take place there. That completely caught me off guard. Like in my mind going into this, I expected them to, if they were going to do sort of like a montage flashback sort of series of events, I thought it would have been done from like a POV of LUTZ at the funeral or something like that, talking about her life. I don't know, like I had set myself up in my head, like at least the epilogue would have gotten more coverage than it did in the anime. So seeing how they went about portraying a sort of flashback with the constraints that were offered, I think they did a good job with it. It caught me off guard.
Like you were saying, moving on to the blessing, like, so, I kind of just complained about the last scene. Well, not even last scene, but the farewell being not emotionally, investing enough or whatever. But this scene completely fixes it. It gives the light novel readers everything that they want. We see the blessing spread across, all of Ehrenfest. And I thought it was really funny how we see Fran get the blessing and Arno doesn't.
That's right, in your
That
face,
was
Arno.
satisfying.
But Sylvester did.
Did
And
he?
Karsten.
Yeah, Sylvester and Cardstep both got it.
He did, yeah. They did mess that up.
Yeah, because it was delineated that there was like, it was going around them. It was obvious it was not going on them in the moment. So the fact that it was just them like intermixed with everyone else, you know, like I think in the moment probably would have taken away. It would have been like, huh, what's going on there? So they just didn't bother with it. But
Well, they're not like glowing though.
well, no, yeah, it's true.
But I am so glad that we get, if they're going to do like unequal opportunity here, it is when they showed it going to Fran and not to Arno. And Arno notices.
I think we all enjoyed watching that part.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah,
That was a good detail. Yeah,
he's like Joffrey. We love to hate him.
As it should be.
we didn't get an execution, but at least we get him missing out on a blessing. Again, should we tell them about why it was kind of like impossible a blessing to do for mine to do at this point? Or should we just, because not everybody can do a 7 god blessing.
I honestly think the only person who could have done it would have been mine. Honestly, because it's just, you can't really pray to all 7 gods, considering almost all of them hate the god of life. I'm sorry, I'm still not going to pronounce his name. I cannot.
Euliglebe.
A wiggly.
Right. So, it's just seeing that really like blew everybody away in the light novels, and I think they were impressed, but we just didn't quite get that far enough to see like why it's such a big deal. That's like, well, that should have failed, and the amount of mana she put into it probably could have like backfired and killed her, but
Yeah, that's true. Everybody went into a panic mode. Like the three big guys, they were like, "Oh my gosh, stop it!" So we're all very glad that happened. That it all worked out. So TLDR version, because of that synchronization, now mine has all the 7 blessings, attributes, colors, and that's why she is able to cast that blessing that includes all of the gods. And again, if we go back to Damiel and Frida.
Damiel's brother is the noble that Frida had signed the contract with, and the reason why she would be moving to the noble quarter upon her coming of age, I believe.
She was emptying her mana that had collected up to that point.
Every so often, her little tool needs to be emptied.
They had to rent a carriage, they had to go over, and once they got there, they had to stay the night. And it was her room that she had planned to stay in. The guards didn't know when they brought Damiel in, so they immediately just dropped her in the first spare room that was available. And it wasn't until she came back later after dinner to rest that she found Damiel unconscious in her bed.
And in the light novel, Frida looks at the beautiful show of magic and the light falling on Damiel, and she reaches to touch the light. And what happens when she does that?
It avoids her.
The light avoids Frida.
just like mine.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that's right. I sympathize with Frida. She does not know how to be a friend.
Well, half of her interactions could have accidentally ended in her servitude to them, so no wonder she's like, kind of iffy with them.
She doesn't seem to want to trust them really that much.
So Frida gets no blessing. So we get the formal goodbyes.
Yeah, I felt like it was more impactful in the novels because they pointed out that everyone, including Sylvester, was aware that I don't know what this means, but you can tell that whatever she's doing, she is trying to show utmost respect.
I'm really happy that like Ferdinand wasn't there when she bowed as they were walking away, because he'd probably be like, mine, why are you bowing to commoners, da 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 da. They let the moment play out, and I like that.
I don't think they showed much about reaction, like how Sylvester or Ferdinand were like reacting to like the stuff play out with mine and her family. And we get some of those reactions in the light novel.
Yeah, because technically the light novel ends right on Mine's sort of farewell. The epilogue is from LUTZ's perspective, and then it's not until the side stories that we pick up from the other people's perspective on Mine's bow and how Sylvester identifies that it's not a custom that this world has, and at that point we realized that Sylvester, Karstad, and Ferdinand, those three all know about her isekai origins. We can throw LUTZ into that group too, but it's like a slow group of people that know about that she's like not native to this world.
And after that, I think that's where it ends, right?
Oh, that's where it pulls the rug out from under us.
Oh yeah, that does.
Says that this is where the story ends.
How dare they do that to us?
It's a gut punch. Ugh.
In the credit scene, that something I thought that they could have done in the very end of the credits, they show basically the family hanging from strings with some books.
Oh, you were gonna think they'd remove mine?
So in the episode where Camille is born, they add Camille to it. I thought it would have been an interesting touch if they removed mine from that scene.
They should have.
Yeah.
It would have been incredibly impactful if they did.
Oh, it would have been a second gut punch.
Why didn't they do it?
I thought they were gonna do it.
I don't know. I was totally expecting them to do it, considering that they did go through the trouble of adding Camille.
Yeah, just recenter him over where mine is, and
no, they could have done something like there's just a string there, and mine's not. Mine's not there.
Empty string. Oh god.
That was a missed opportunity. Director San, where are you? Maybe let me see if I can probably do it in like Premiere.
Yeah, just Photoshop content aware, remove if you just do it I can do it in Photoshop in like 10 seconds. Give me a sec.
Oh, well, not right now. We're focusing on the content right now.
I can multitask.
Oh, well, lucky you. I can't multitask. Okay, so while one of you guys, or all of you guys, do wonders in Photoshop, I'll have the attention of whoever else is here in the moment. And let's talk about...
Oh, I'm listening.
Yeah, I know. I'm kidding. And let's talk about that those after credit scenes. I want to point out some things about the LUTZ and the TUULI. Let's talk about that first.
Oh, about how LUTZ shows up at the door.
Yeah, let's give it some context.
So I thought that was interesting that they started the post-credit scene with that, considering that's the end of the epilogue. Honestly, I think that's one of the most emotionally impactful scenes for me, is LUTZ showing up and that realization that, yeah, mine's not there anymore.
Yeah, we didn't get that, did we?
And I'm really glad they included that.
Well, it wasn't as hard, because like in the light novel, LUTZ immediately starts breaking down and crying. Like he almost came to that house out of like habit. He didn't realize he was there until he was at the front door and TUULI asked, "What's up?"
Right.
So
it does lack that impact from the entire epilogue, because it is almost mechanical at that point. He's just doing it because that's what he's always done. And you get the entire funeral scene where you get that nice little lore about what funerals are in this world, what they mean from a religious point of view, and then how they mourn their dead. And then at the end, it comes up to LUTZ just goes back to her house expecting nothing to have changed. And then there's that realization that, yeah, she's not there. So I think it's nice they included the scene, but I feel like they undercut it by not including the funeral.
That could even be like grief. Like, when people die, it's sort of hard to get over the fact that they're not there anymore. So, I mean, like, I feel like either scene could have gone in either way.
I felt like it could have been just extended a bit more, because immediately after that you have Benno scolding LUTZ for being an idiot. It's like, no, she's still going to want books. Come on, we have to get to work. She's not dead. We have to do stuff. Like, they didn't like dwell on his sort of emotional guilt and depression. Same with Gunther, because like Gunther comes in, he's already happy. He's like, I spoke to Gil. We don't get to see his funk before that, so...
We get some scenes of closure. We get people in the lower city moving on from the events that played out in the temple. When the family's talking about mind, baby Camille is already sitting up at the table.
I did see that.
It was cute.
Already taken mine's place.
I'm not sure. I don't remember how long it took for her to move into the Nobles District. Anybody remember?
I think about a month.
That makes sense, because they had to prepare for her baptism and, well, for her new life anyway.
Yeah, because she's seen wearing a new dress already in the carriage, so they had to at least prepare some clothes for her, which would take time.
Every time that she gets a new dress, I'm like, yes. I'm not sure if this one was in any of the covers.
It matches the dress in Part 3 manga.
Oh, okay. Cool. One other thing, when I was scrolling through Reddit, and I saw people talking about Ferdinand's cape. Is this correct? Is this incorrect? Any thoughts about that? And let's clarify the situation here.
It's technically incorrect because by definition, his original yellow cape has since been destroyed before entering into the temple. So if he is forced to be wearing one, it would be one without any insignia or embroidery on it, just basically plain fabric. But traditionally, he wears a blue cape whenever he goes out that has protective magic on it.
Why he wears that cape, if you want to know, read the light novels.
Yes.
Should be in part 4 of volume 7. Should be explained, and it'll be coming. The English translation should be coming up soon.
By the time this video premieres, the next volume, this volume should be out, and you can read all about
Jeez. I'm so far behind.
You got a lot to catch up, TJ.
The origin of the cape. Find out today.
I was actually going to say, the color of the cape here, I don't think it really matters because, well, this is just the way I see it. When Damiel is walking around with mine, like, without his knight's attire, he just wears like a wine-colored cape. It's not the cape that he uses for fighting. So there's people wear capes, the cape, the one that they use for protective. And then there's the cape that's just used for, your accessory, your clothing, like a cloak, I guess. So I hazard a guess that this isn't an error, it's just him accessorizing his attire with a regular cape that just happens to be orange. I don't know if any of you agree or disagree, or...
No, you just now make me want to start claiming that Damiel's cape is also an error now.
What? Poor Damiel.
You should have a yellow cape.
Damiel can never catch a break.
Oh, that can be said multiple times.
Yeah, poor man. Speaking of which, I hope we do get a season 4, because I think that I think I hyped, and all the light novel readers, we hyped Damiel a lot. And I have a feeling that anime only people did not really understand why we love Damiel so much. Because he was just a background character. Did anybody get that feel throughout the series, like, I want more Damiel, or was it just me?
I mean, he didn't really get a chance to shine, but he doesn't really get a chance to shine until about part 3, so...
All of his, character motivation building sort of quirks that he has as a character were completely cut. His love for Peru cakes completely cut. Just any endearing character flaw or trait that would have came across is just gone. He's like a whatever, I don't know. He has nothing to him in the anime.
He didn't really get a lot of time to shine, and it's apparent. But, he's going to be a main character in the next part, so...
I will say, I feel like they've kind of, they made the Nobles Quarter very uniform, and that's something they explicitly comment on as they go through it. It's like, hey, this section of houses is more packed together. That's for the that's for the landowning nobles when they come back for winter socializing, and stuff like that, and how the estates get bigger the further away from the lower city you get, because you're getting closer to the castle.
Just like we get that change in scenery when you're in the lower city, the poorer people are further south, and then as you go north, you get richer people and bigger houses, and it's prettier, nicer, more colors. It's the same situation in the Nobles Quarter. And that house that they showed, that has to be the castle, right?
I think that's a little too small to be a castle. The castle?
And I assumed it was Karstad's estate.
It is not Cardstedt's house.
It's not? Okay.
I have a picture of Cardstedt's house that they showed last season, and it's not the same house.
Okay.
Because I've had to use it for backgrounds in my videos.
Nice.
So then this would be Ob's estate then.
Where's the basement?
So then it is the castle.
So, we got the to be continued, but then we also talked about the bonus episodes with the people talking over him. I feel like that would be a kick in the shin, if, we just have her riding off into this mysterious building. If I was an anime only, she's just riding off into this mysterious building. You tell me to be continued. but you mean with these extra bonus episodes. That's like... I think we're getting a season 4.
Either that or they're leaving it open for, like, there's no season 4, but there's a possibility for it. So it's saying it's not impossible.
Mm-hmm. But, like, so I made a video not too long ago talking about the anime and, like, you know, I think season 3 was a good place to stop, but, like, there's no way that the book sales alone justify more episodes for this commercial. You know, Ascendance of a Bookworm, its merchandise is very niche, let's say that, because it has like tea sets or like acrylic stands. Nothing, like, it doesn't have regular anime merch. Therefore, I wouldn't think that it's extremely profitable.
They should, though.
They should.
They should. I would buy so much.
I would love to get more anime merch. I end up having to make my own anime merch.
Like, there are merch possibilities here. They're just not doing it.
And make it available for, you know, overseas people. It's like pulling teeth to get some decent stuff here. Like, I wanted to get the tea set, but the cost is so prohibitive. I'm like,
oh my god.
I have to get I get another job just to afford the tea sets.
But
so
I can also understand the potential of like not wanting to go forward if the continued projected sales aren't going to be as good as they expect, because right now we're like almost at the end of the light novel run in Japan right now. Like, they have the junior bunkos that are still going to continue with part 2 when they're like reissuing that, and we do get new illustrations, so there's like new Bookworm content still going to like continue out for the foreseeable future. But like, I don't know what the purchase projected trends would be for the publishers, so
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is the manga, which is going to take an eternity and a half to get out in its entirety. But again, I don't know how that affects the decisions in the marketing. I'm more aware of like when they publish like this latest volume was like a bestseller in Japan or whatever. So you can measure that, but I don't know like how we measure the manga and how that affects their decisions. And I, for one, I am hoping against hope that we get a season 4 so that we can just get some more of this glorious story adapted. Any final thoughts that you guys have? I know I always ask you, like, can you answer these 5 questions and all, but I think we've gone, like, rather long.
Well, it's a bittersweet this season and all of that. I was super happy that we got a season 3 and really happy about that, but now it's over, and now I want to just cry and go to bed, cry pretty much.
Oh, well, there is hope. Let's cling on to hope.
Yeah. My only final thing I will say is please just read the light novels. For me, it was almost life-changing. I used to not like reading at all. I used to hate novels in general. Picked up this novel series, and now I'm a super fan, and it changes you.
I'm going to echo the last sentiment. Because like prior to this, I've only read like one light novel, and that was So What, I'm a Spider, but that was on a completely different context because I just didn't understand what the anime was doing at the time, and I had to figure out, like, I don't understand. Tell me, what is this, like, time distance, whatever. But when it came to Bookworm, it was a series that once like I kind of started out of curiosity, it's like, oh, what else can I read? I got hooked immediately, and once I reached the end of the light novel, it's just like, oh, we're going straight to the web novel. And then once that was done, it's like, oh, we're going around to round 2 immediately. What's the manga content? Oh, there's additional side stories. Oh, cool. Oh, there's a fan book. There's other like illustration books with like other fan content. I just absorbed every bit of like content I could get my hands on, and I just can't seem to stop. I have a problem. Welcome to our AA meeting.
Ascendance Anonymous.
Yes, Ascendance Anonymous.
You know, hopefully this will bring more people into the series. Whether we get another season or not, it's just like, you know, I'm just happy that more people are going to find out about it, and it's going to be able to be experienced for a long time, you know.
I'm really happy this got animated. This got me into reading in general. I really wasn't a big reader, so watching the first season of Bookworm made me buy light novels, made me decide to pick them up at work one day to actually start reading them, and, you know, now I'm like 19 volumes in. I don't know how many there are, but also started reading a ton of other books. So, you know, there's a lot in this series that you're not going to see in the anime, and it's all the more reason to pick it up.
That's right. So everybody, don't take it from me. Take it from all these fellows who also know, okay? Everybody, thank you so much for joining, for sharing your thoughts, you know, for the laughs, and thank you for contributing and for being willing to be here, and, you know, I really appreciate it, you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
It was fun.
Yeah, and I hope that if and when we do season 4, that, you know, we can all again share our views and you know, have this glorious hype train going again. I am leaving everybody's details, socials on the description below. Please check out TJ's channel. He's Basedimouto. There's Jonathan's channel. This is Jonathan Kayne. Ferggy, he's JC Ferggy, he's doing reactions, and also Trash-Tier Waifu. Check out their socials, their channels. They're really all doing good work out there. Thank you so much, you guys. This video marks the end of Season 3 Impressions videos with Magpie. And while I am a little sad to see this end, I am so happy that I got to do this because I got to interact and fangirl with so many of you. And I got to make more friends too. Not gonna lie, pumping out weekly videos was a challenge at times, but I received a bunch of support and motivation from many of you. I would like to give a special shout out to Corey Franson. Corey, my friend, you are an amethyst. Purple amethysts are said to provide emotional support in the form of confidence and calmness, including protection from the negativity of stress and anxiety. And I honestly cannot think of another gem that goes well with you. You helped me co-write and beta read several of the videos I made in this channel, and when I was on a desperate need to get over my writer's block because I was just so stressed out, your assistance helped me to get it done. Thanks for being my first member on Ko-fi as well, and at the Zent level too. Wow, you're such a generous individual and a beautiful soul. I could just go on and on about you and embarrass you further, but just know that I am deeply, deeply thankful for you. And I'm also thankful for my Ko-fi members. I send you all sparkly hearts and lots of hugs. And so, Bookworms, I have a few extra things lined up for you to make up for having you wait for this video. So please look forward to those in the future. And if you're a Ko-fi member, do check out the outtakes and spoiler videos that I'm posting there soon. Okay, everybody, until the next video, bye-bye.